Good morning, YouTube. TJ here. I'm in Arkansas on Route 71. Picked up a load of chicken, and I am going to Riverside, California, just outside Los Angeles. Beautiful Hollywood. Here to talk about day 2 of orientation, day dos. Day 2 is a pretty straightforward day. That is going to be your first full day of orientation. And that is probably, even though it's mostly straightforward, it is probably your busiest day. You're getting a lot done in that day. For example, you're getting your physicals done, your drug testing, your screening, your everything done, basically. All of your pre-employment stuff. When you get there, when you wake up, I should say, you should get a 5:45 wake-up call. Although I don't recommend relying on those wake-up calls because at times, for some reason, they don't seem reliable. I didn't always get a wake-up call. But anyway, you'll wake up. Class starts at 7 a.m. on the nose. Don't be late. I recommend getting there early, as always. Your first day of class is just kind of a generic intro to Prime. You'll learn who you're going to be spending your week with. You know, you'll meet some of the training department. You'll meet some people that'll come over from the Millennium and introduce themselves. A lot of meet and greets and basically telling you what to expect. And please excuse this video. I'm on a really bumpy road here, so it's probably not going to sound the greatest, but bear with me. So day 2, after you get finished with your classroom portion, I don't remember exactly how long it goes. I want to say about 2 or 3 hours. You will jump straight into a self-schedule, so to speak. You'll be doing your physical, drug testing, APEX screening, which is your physical abilities test, basically, to make sure you can perform your job functions. Your interview with HR, and I think there's one other thing I might be missing. We'll come back to it, though, here. Anyway, what I recommend doing is getting the stuff that takes forever knocked out first. For example, drug screening and physical. Those are the 2 longest. Very first thing I did is I went straight to the doctor's office at the campus, which, yes, Prime does have its own doctor's office on property, believe it or not. First thing I did is head there. That's where your drug testing was, or at least that's where mine was. They had 2 stations, but that's where I went. It worked out great in the sense because the line was so long that I got acquainted with a couple people that I was sitting next to, and basically, I don't know if they still allow it, but they let us save each other's spots. So basically, what would happen is there were 3 or 4 of us, and I would save one guy's spot. He would go and do his interview, for example. He would come back. He would save my spot. I would go do my interview. I would come back, I would save someone else's spot, they would go do their interview, so on and so forth, and all while we're still in line for the drug test. So it managed our time very, very nicely. I don't know if they still allow it, but if they do, that is a great way to manage your time. So like I said, while I was in line for the drug screening, I did get my interview knocked out. That was relatively quick, I want to say about 20 minutes. Basically just looking over your application. If you're unsure of your employment dates, that's the time to kind of go over it with them. That's where they'll verify all of that. So just try to get as much information to them as possible if you're unsure of anything on your application. After I finished that, like I said, I came back to my drug testing. Then I went over to the nurses station, which is where they do your basic vitals. They make sure your blood pressure is okay. You do your vision, your hearing, all that fun stuff. And that is also where they'll determine whether or not you are going to be scheduled for a sleep test or a sleep study. Like I said, if you are considered overweight technically, or if you, I believe it has something to do with the size and shape of your tongue, possibly having a factor on your ability to breathe at night while you're sleeping. If any of those come into if any of those come into play, they will automatically set you up for a sleep study. After that, I personally went to the doctor. That's where they check your reflexes, they have you squat and walk like a duck, they grab your junk if you're a man, they check your feet, make sure that you can bend correctly, all that fun stuff. That, I want to say it was about a half hour once you get in there. That even might be on the high side. It might have been more like 20 minutes. But the line, like I said, the line is what took forever. That was probably a 2 or 3 hour wait, honestly. After I finished the doctor's office, I went and did Apex. Apex is basically your physical abilities test to make sure that you can perform your basic job functions of picking up a weight, moving it across the room without using your back, lifting with your legs, climbing a couple rungs on a ladder, lifting a tarp, all that stuff. After you are done with that is basically it for your station, so to speak. That will probably take you all day, if possibly not part of the next day. Ideally, they want you to get it done all that one day. So if you can, that's awesome. But if not, they did allow some time the next morning to get some stuff knocked out. After you get all that done, you can start your computer-based training. I highly recommend, and if you watch any other YouTube videos about their orientation, they will say the same thing. Highly recommend that you get those done ASAP, as quick as you possibly can. Believe it or not, people go home because they don't finish their CBTs on time. People procrastinate. They don't think it's worth their time. They'd rather mess around. Get it done. Depending on how quick you are on computer modules, it could take anywhere from an hour to a couple days. I mean, honestly, I got it knocked out within like an hour and a half. I sped through it just because, first off, I knew majority of the stuff simply because I've driven larger vehicles previously. I was on the fire department as a firefighter for several years, so driving fire engines kind of gave me an upper hand on all that. As soon as you get that done, you're done for the week. As far as CBTs, not done for the week, but as far as CBTs go, you're done with CBTs for the week. So sooner you get those knocked out, sooner you can be done with those. Tuesday, correct me. Monday, actually, is what day that would be. You may or may not start simulators class. I don't believe it starts until Tuesday, but that could have changed simply because that is something that takes up quite a bit of time. So there is a possibility Monday that you may also have simulator class, and those will be broken up into different groups. So if you have it, just be prepared for it. If not, you'll probably be just about done with the day by the time you get done with all those stations. Besides that, Monday and Tuesday are the 2 days where if you seriously slacked and did not study for your CDL test, your permit test, those are literally the last 2 days that you can study. Wednesday is when they start testing you on that. So don't mess around. If you want to, there's several apps, and maybe I'll make another video on study recommendations for that. If you have a smartphone, then there's several different apps you can download that help you practice for it. And some of them are better than others. And they may also tell you in class Monday or Tuesday what apps are good for that. all in all, Monday, that's pretty much all you got. Be ready, get a good night's sleep that night again. You should get your meal card, so you should have breakfast, lunch, and dinner Monday through whenever you get picked up by a trainer. So you should pretty much be all set then. Once again, don't slack off. Take it all seriously. Monday is probably one of the most important days where they'll determine whether or not you're sent home. Now, granted, any day of the week they can send you home. Completely up to them, but I think I've seen most people go home on Monday than any other day. So just be aware. Next thing that I also want to mention, and it's kind of pathetic that I even have to say anything. It's unfortunate that it has even come to this in the trucking industry, but it happens. If you know that you are going to fail your drug test, do yourself a favor and leave. Don't tell them that you'll take it, and if you fail, you'll come back again, because you won't ever come back. I promise you that. Do yourself a favor. If you got all the way out there and you know you're not going to pass your drug test, don't take a chance. Go home. Pay for your trip home. Go home. Sober up. Do what you need to do. And come back when you know it's out of your system. Once you fail a pre-employment drug testing for a trucking company or anything DOT related, that is it. You don't ever get considered for another job in commercial driving industry. It puts basically a black card on your file. You won't ever be able to get hired again unless it's under the counter somewhere. That is all I really have to say, though. If you have any questions about day 2 of orientation or the first full day of orientation on Monday, feel free to comment. I'll get back to them as soon as I possibly can. And have fun, enjoy, and be safe. See you guys.